Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Be sure to check out Dragon Shield for all of the best accessories to protect your decks. TCG Player for cards at great prices while supporting local game stores. And Patreon where you get awesome benefits for your direct support. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Drake, piloting Bant Infect. This deck seeks to deal 10 poison damage as quickly as possible with evasive creatures and pump spells. His opening hand contains a Windswept Teeth, Misty Rainforest, Scale Up, Brainstorm, Force of Will, and 2 Blighted Agents. Next, we have Zach, our Mox Ruby patron, piloting Doomsday. This deck seeks to resolve its namesake card and craft the perfect 5-card library to win by Thassa's Oracle. His opening hand contains a Street Wraith, Doomsday, Lotus Petal, Brainstorm, Ponder, Underground Sea, and a Scalding Tarn. Without further ado, let's neatly needlepoint some newfangled Nocturnal Nirvana. Drake correctly identified the goblet containing the Iocane powder and gets to start us off. Drake plays a Windswept Teeth and passes. Zach draws and plays an Underground Sea. He casts a Lotus Petal. He casts a Ponder. He looks at the top 3, doesn't like what he sees, shuffles, and draws. He casts another Lotus Petal. He ends his turn. Drake draws and plays an Inkmoth Nexus. He cracks his Windswept Teeth, pays a life, and fetches up a tropical island onto the battlefield. He casts Blighted Agent. He ships the turn. Zach draws and casts Brainstorm. He draws 3 and puts 2 back on top. He plays a Scalding Tarn for turn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He casts Thoughtseize, targeting Drake. Drake reveals his hand, discards Force of Will, and Zach loses 2 life. He ends the turn. Drake draws and casts Brainstorm. He draws 3 and puts 2 back on top. He plays a Misty Rainforest. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a tropical island onto the battlefield. He casts Noble Hierarch. He moves to combat and attacks with Blighted Agent. Noble Hierarch triggers, giving Agent +1/+1. Zach takes it and gets 2 poison. Drake passes. Zach draws and casts Brainstorm, drawing 3 and putting 2 back on top. He cracks both petals, adding 2 black. He casts Doomsday. In response, Drake casts Daze for its alternate cost, bouncing Tropical Island, targeting Doomsday. In response, Zach casts Force of Will, paying a life, exiling a blue card, countering Daze. Doomsday resolves, Zach searches his library and graveyard for 5 cards, rearranges, exiles the rest, and loses half of his life, rounded up. He ends his turn. Drake draws and casts Scale Up, targeting Blighted Agent, making it a 6/4 until the end of turn. He casts a Kicked Vines of Vastwood, targeting Blighted Agent. In response, Zach casts Daze for its alternate cost, bouncing Underground Sea, targeting Vines. Drake pays the 1, Vines resolves, and Agent gets +4/+4. He moves to combat and attacks with Blighted Agent. Noble Hierarch triggers, and Agent gets +1/+1. Zach takes 11 Infect, gets poisoned to death, and Drake wins the game. Before game 2, Drake moves the sideboard. He adds in 2 Flusterstorm to better battle on the stack. He removes 2 Vines of Vastwood. Zach also moves to sideboard. He adds in 2 Fatal Push and 3 Duress for better creature removal and hand disruption. He removes 2 Ursa's Bauble, Lotus Petal, Street Wraith, and an Edge of Autumn. In this game, Zach's opening hand contains 2 Scalding Tarn, Daze, Brainstorm, Duress, Doomsday, and a Lion's Eye Diamond. Drake's opening hand contains a Flooded Strand, 2 Tropical Island, Force of Will, 2 Ponder, and an Invigorate. And Zach gets to start us off. Zach plays a Scalding Tarn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He casts Duress. Drake reveals his hand and discards Ponder. Zach passes the turn. Drake draws and plays a Tropical Island. He casts Ponder. In response, Zach casts Daze for its alternate cost, bouncing Underground Sea, countering Ponder. Drake ends the turn. Zach draws and plays an Underground Sea. He casts Lion's Eye Diamond. He ships the turn. Drake draws and plays a Tropical Island. He casts Ponder. He looks at the top 3, rearranges, and draws. He passes. Zach draws and casts a Brainstorm. He draws 3 and puts 2 back on top. He plays a Scalding Tarn for turn. He ends his turn. Drake draws and plays an Inkmoth Nexus. He passes. During his upkeep, Zach cracks his Scalding Tarn, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He draws and casts Brainstorm. He draws 3 and puts 2 back on top. He plays an Island for turn. He ships the turn. Drake draws and plays a Flooded Strand. He activates Inkmoth Nexus and moves to combat. He attacks with the Nexus. Before damage, Drake casts Invigorate for its alternate cost, targeting Nexus, and Zach gains 3 life. Then Nexus gets +4/+4. Still before damage, Drake cracks his Flooded Strand, pays a life, and fetches up a Tropical Island onto the battlefield. He casts Berserk, targeting Nexus. In response, Zach hard casts Daze, targeting Berserk. Drake pays 1 for the Daze, Berserk resolves, and Nexus gets +5/+0. Zach takes 10 Infect, dies to poison, and Drake wins the match. These guys had so much fun in the match that they decided to play another. In this game, Zach decided to bring back Doomsday. His opening hand contains a Ponder, Doomsday, Personal Tutor, Brainstorm, Force of Will, Edge of Autumn, and a Scalding Tarn. Next, Drake is piloting Death and Taxes with the companion Yorion the Sky Nomad. This is a control deck that seeks to disrupt its opponent's game plan through its creature's abilities. His opening hand contains Wasteland, Flagstones of Trocaire, Caldera Complete, Mother of Runes, Thalia Guardian of Thraben, Spirit of the Labyrinth, and Aloran of the Third Path. And Zach gets to start us off. Zach plays a Scalding Tarn for turn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He casts Ponder. He looks at the top 3, rearranges, and draws. He passes the turn. Drake draws and plays a Flagstones of Trocaire. He casts Mother of Runes. He ends his turn. At the end of Drake's turn, he reminds everyone to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell to be notified of when we publish more. Zach draws and plays a Flooded Strand. He casts Brainstorm. He draws 3 and puts 2 back on top. He cracks his Flooded Strand, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He casts Dark Ritual, adding 3 black. He casts Doomsday. He searches his library and graveyard for 5 cards, exiles the rest, put them on top in any order, and then loses half of his life, rounded up. He pays 2 to cycle Street Wraith, drawing a card. He casts Lion's Eye Diamond. He sacrifices a land to cycle Edge of Autumn. Holding priority, he cracks his Lion's Eye Diamond, discards his hand, and adds 3 blue. Then the cycle resolves and he draws. He casts Consider. He looks at the top card of his library and puts it into his graveyard and draws. He pays 2 life to cycle Street Wraith and draws again. He casts Thassa's Oracle. Oracle triggers, and Zach wins the game. Before game 2, Drake moves to sideboard. He adds in 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Deafening Silence, 2 Containment Priests, and a Palace Jailer. He removes 2 Solitude and 4 Swords to Plowshares. Zach also moves to sideboard. He adds in 2 Chain of Vapor and 2 Fatal Push. He removes 2 Thoughtseize and 2 Urza's Bauble. In this game, Drake's opening hand contains a Spirit of the Labyrinth, Mother of Runes, 2 Snow-Covered Plains, Wasteland, and his London mulligans are Flagstones of Trocaire and Skyclave Apparition. Zach's opening hand contains a Doomsday, Dark Ritual, Scalding Tarn, Street Wraith, and his 3 London mulligans are 2 Brainstorms and a Daze. And Drake gets to start us off. Drake plays a Snow-Covered Plains for turn. He casts Mother of Runes. He passes. Zach draws and plays a Scalding Tarn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He casts a Lotus Petal. He casts a Dark Ritual, adding 3 black. He casts Doomsday. He searches his library and graveyard for 5 cards, exiles the rest, rearranges, and then loses half of his life, rounded up. He ends his turn. Drake draws and plays a Plains. He casts Spirit of the Labyrinth. In response, Zach pays 2 life to cycle Street Wraith. He pays 2 life to cycle another Street Wraith. He pays 2 life to cycle yet another Street Wraith. He sacrifices a land to cycle Edge of Autumn. Then Spirit of the Labyrinth resolves. Drake moves to combat and attacks with Mother of Runes. Zach takes it, and Drake ships the turn. Zach draws and plays a Cavern of Souls, naming Merfolk as it enters. He cracks his Lotus Petal for a blue. He uses his Cavern of Souls to help cast Thassa's Oracle. Oracle resolves, and Zach wins the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fun set of Legacy matches tonight. Congrats to both Drake and Zach on their wins. In match 1, Drake was able to combo so much faster than Zach, even though Doomsday is fast enough on its own. Infect is a tough matchup for a lot of decks, and Doomsday just couldn't find its footing. In match 2, Zach showed that Doomsday is still quite fast and explosive. Death and Taxes thrives on its opponents not being able to stabilize, but Doomsday was able to pull through and seal the victory. The most valuable card in tonight's games, sponsored by Luxury Playstyle, goes to Vines of Vastwood. In the first match of the evening, this was instrumental in both pumping Drake's creatures and protecting them at the exact same time. There was a lot of value slapped onto this unassuming card. Drake used it to full effect, and Zach couldn't do anything to stop him. We hope you enjoyed this Legacy match. What was your favorite part? What would you like to see next? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.